Now, he's in hot water right now. I've been saying for a year and a half, 2 years, they ought to defund the DOJ and the FBI. He didn't like that a year ago, June. He pushed back on that concept, essentially saying that anybody who speaks out against the Department of Justice is attacking democracy. Now we've got it happening again. He's being held in contempt of Congress, and he's likely, if this is upheld, he's likely going to be joining Steve Bannon in jail, which would be great, by the way. Nevertheless, if we get a new attorney general, let's just say that Merrick Garland goes away for one reason or another because we get a new president in and he fires Merrick Garland, we get a new guy. Then the attorney general that's coming in may be interested in enforcing the law. He may be interested in enforcing the law equally. He may be interested in enforcing the laws duly enacted by the legislature instead of setting himself up against the legislature. We have three co-equal branches of government, okay? The judiciary, the legislature, and the executive branch. Those three need to work together and not be at odds with each other. So if you get a guy that's willing to enforce the law, I mean, that will destroy the abortion industry overnight. If you get a guy that's willing to enforce the law of the land is the Comstock Act, then great. The Supreme Court's all about that. They're all about the law of the land. They didn't come out and say, oh, we're overturning the Comstock Act. They just said, as plaintiffs, you can't file a lawsuit on behalf of a third party. Go find your primary party. Go find your primary plaintiffs that are being injured by chemical abortion. They're everywhere, okay? They're everywhere. Find one, and we'll hear the merits of the case. So the Supreme Court also suggested that we get back to work. When Dobbs was overturned, many of the pro-life people in the pro-life community were like, "Oh, this was it. This was the goal. We overturned Roe versus Wade through Dobbs, and abortion's gone." But we understood here in New York and anybody else that lives in a pro-abortion state that overturning Roe versus Wade was not the end of abortion. It was not going to be the end of abortion. It was going to be the end of the beginning, and that's what we're seeing. We've seen a 10% increase in abortion all across this country post Dobbs. It's time to get back to work. And the Supreme Court, with Kavanaugh and Justice in their opinions, in their concurring opinion, basically are telling us in so many words, you've got to get back to work. You've got to go vote. You've got to argue this in the public square. You've got to talk to your friends and your family and your coworkers and people at church. You've got to encourage your pastor to preach about this stuff. You've got to go to your legislature. You've got to make sure that you're talking to your legislatures at the state level, talking to your legislatures at the federal level. You've got to go to your attorneys general at the state level. You've got to demand that they enforce the law and protect women and children. You've got to serve. You've got to reach out to women who are facing unplanned pregnancy and have started the chemical abortion process and are experiencing potentially the demise of their own health, not to mention the ending of the life of their child. You've got to serve them. You've got to tell them the truth about the nature of the dangers of chemical abortion, and you've got to tell them the truth about the fact that you can reverse the effects of chemical abortion if you can catch it early enough with natural progesterone therapy. We're being sued for saying and doing things like that by blue state pro-abortion, rabid, activistic Attorney General Antifa James. Shame on her. But nevertheless, we must continue to push forward. The Bible says in Psalm 82, verses 3 and 4, vindicate the weak and the fatherless, the orphan. Isaiah 1:17 says, learn to do good, seek justice, reprove the ruthless, defend the orphan, plead for the widow. These are all legal terms, by the way, used for the public square. Christians need to stand up, we need to speak up, and we need to not just use our voice on behalf of the voiceless, but we need to use we need to serve in ways that are consistent with a Christ-like ethic. We're here to make a difference in this world, and we've got a long way to go.